everyone, and welcome to episode 1 of the Mind, Body, Soul Transformation podcast. I'm really excited and grateful to have you here with me, and I'm equally excited and nervous to be sitting here recording this podcast episode. Truth be told, this is not ever something that I imagined I would be doing, and yet here I am talking to a camera, recording my very first podcast episode. The truth is that for the last few months, I've had this little intuitive nudge, this little voice inside that's been trying to tell me what is that next step to get onto the path that I feel most aligned with, that's going to let me lead the life that I want to live and contribute to the world in the way that I want to. And I've shared a little bit of this with those of you that follow my Mind, Body, Soul Transformation Instagram page, that I was really being called to share more authentically and share what I'm going through and share the soul transformation journey and path that I'm currently on. And this is the forum that I'm being told that is the best way to do. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing in this with me. And I hope that you will stick around as I progress through this very steep learning curve of creating and publishing a podcast that we can all enjoy and learn from and create a community around together. The truth is that this idea fills me with fear, as does the ideas and changes that I've been called to make time after time after time in the last few months. But what I've come to be certain of is that the biggest opportunity for my growth and the biggest opportunity to be aligned with the life that I want to and am being called to live lives on the other side of fear. And that's never stopped me in the past in so many other ways. I turn up and try and have a go at things that I once never would have imagined that I could do. And yet putting myself out there like this is a level of vulnerability that is more challenging than lining up for an ultramarathon or any other of the more extreme physical tasks and challenges that I've undertaken in the last few years in the Mind, Body, Soul transformation journey. Because being vulnerable is hard, and sharing your authentic truth and sharing the challenges that you're going through is not necessarily easy, particularly with a public forum where you don't know how that's going to be received. And yet, as I've said, this is what I'm being called to do, and I do know that with everything that I am going through personally, that I am not alone, and that there are so many people around me right now facing their own challenges. That's both within my circle, and we certainly know worldwide we're facing some significant challenges as a global community that we're going to have to face up to and learn from and grow together, and hopefully find the path forward that allows us all to lead a life that we can be proud of, that's filled with love and centered around that for each other. So to get started, I do want to share a little bit about me. Now, I know some of you listening will be close family and friends that have been loyal supporters of the Mind, Body, Soul Transformation page and me for many, many years. Some of you I will have never met in person, and yet we have followed each other on Instagram for many years, celebrated each other's successes and comforted each other through challenging times in life. And some of you will be brand new, particularly, I guess, all of us to this podcast. So I am Donna. I am currently undergoing a significant transformation basically across every aspect of my life, which is immensely challenging and yet at the same time incredibly inspiring and filling me with this sense of purpose that I haven't felt for a really long time. And I'm going to share a bit more about that today, and certainly a lot more about that in future episodes of the podcast. I am the mum of a gorgeous girl who has brought so much love to my life and has shone a light on the parts of me that I needed to learn to love. And also, I guess, to be completely open and vulnerable while we're being there, brought up parts of me, or really triggered parts of me that I obviously had some deeper work to do around. And so just the journey of motherhood alone in the last few years has been truly transformative. And you read a lot about that, absolutely, but I don't think until you're in it and living it can you really understand how much we are parenting a child whilst also reparenting ourselves and healing some of the things that deep inside that do affect how we show up in moments. And so a lot of the last few months, but even before that, of the work I've been doing on myself have been to allow me to better understand myself, to have more grace and compassion with myself, and to heal the parts of me that needed to be healed, that allows me to turn up in the world as the mum I want to be, turning up in the world as the best version of me across every relationship and interaction that I have. I have been sharing on Instagram for upwards more than 10 years. This page, the Mind Body Soul Transformation page, started as a place for me to hold myself accountable and share the beginning parts of my journey from someone that really didn't spend enough time thinking about how they were looking after themselves, particularly at that stage around fitness and wellness and nutrition. And having a space and building a community around that held me accountable, that inspired others, and create a community that certainly inspired me daily to try new things, to take on challenges, to achieve things that I never would have thought was possible. And I'm so grateful to have started this, to have connected with all of the people that I have connected with, and to be here today in the next phase of the Mind Body Soul transformation journey and the next phase of my transformation. At the same time as sharing those parts of my life on Instagram, I have also been working full-time as a veterinarian and more recently as a senior leader in that area. And this has been a truly rewarding career and continues to be. I am so blessed to work with the team that I do work with, to be inspired by their brilliance, their compassion, their empathy for both animals and people every day, and see the wonderful work that they do. A huge part of my role that I have truly loved and adored during my 15 years as a vet working with the team that I do is the teaching, mentoring and coaching aspect. There's something special about sharing knowledge, about seeing those light bulb moments, about coming together and learning together, that's always ignited this little spark of passion in me. And I'm really quite clearly seeing that alignment between that part of my current role and this next chapter of the Mind Body Soul transformation journey and what I've been called to do. So as terrifying as this might be, to be out there, to be vulnerable, to be sharing what I'm sharing, I do hope to turn this podcast into a growing community where we learn and grow and develop together, and where I can step into that part of my calling and allow others to continue to be inspired by what I'm doing, and allow myself to continue to be inspired by what you are undertaking in your lives. At the moment, I am going through some significant transformation across all areas of my life, and that has been really, really challenging. You know, in the past, I've heard the phrase dark night of the soul many times. And I think it's safe to say that the last few months for me could be described using that term. What I have been navigating has been really challenging, has been filled with fear and uncertainty, has been devastating and heartbreaking, and has had impacts on people that I love that I never wanted to have. And with all that in mind, what I know now is that everything that I've been navigating and working through, and some of the decisions that I have made through that time, have got me to this point, have got me closer to the path that I know I'm meant to be on. A path and a place where I feel much more at peace with my life and with where I'm going than I did 3, 6, maybe even 12 months ago. When I've heard the phrase dark night of the soul before, I've known it to be something that people describe as something truly transformative, that really is a catalyst for them changing their lives, for changing the way they live, changing their sense of purpose, and potentially even changing what they believe in. And that has certainly been true for me. And I know dark nights of the soul, or whatever we want to call this, transformative periods in our life can be triggered by a range of different things that can happen. For some, they are truly significant, sometimes catastrophic life events that are big wake-up calls to people. For me, that wasn't necessarily exactly how this has transpired. For me, the decisions I've made through this time have been much more triggered by an internal turmoil, this internal, almost got to a point of screaming to say, not this, Donna. This is not where you're meant to be. This is not the life you're meant to be living. And that was really hard to reckon with, because I had everything that I had ever dreamt of. And so it was really hard to balance the idea that I was living a life and had created a life that ticked all the boxes, that was everything that little Donna had wanted. And yet I wasn't happy, I wasn't grateful, and I felt ungrateful. I felt selfish. Navigating that and processing that screaming inside that I wasn't where I was meant to be in light of where I was a really challenging situation to be in. But what I have come to know, and what I have had the courage to do in response to that inner feeling, that inner turmoil, that inner voice that just kept saying the same thing over and over again, not this, not this, not this, not this, was I had to connect with, well then what is it that you want, Donna? What is the life that you're trying to achieve? What is the path that you're meant to be on? What is your purpose in this world? And I don't have all those answers yet, but what I do know for sure is I wasn't going to find those answers in that life. I had to make decisions based on intuition that got me to the point I am now, where I'm now able to more closely hear the little intuitive nudge that says, take this step, take this step, take this step. And this is one of those. This podcast is one of those. Do I know where this path leads? Absolutely not. But what I know is I'm listening to my body, I'm listening to my intuition, and I'm following those. And then I'm listening again. Does this feel right? Am I getting a not this? Or am I getting a sense of peace and calmness with that decision? Fear's there, don't get me wrong, fear is there. But when I sit here and think about putting this podcast into the world, and sit here and think about where I am right now in my life, I feel at peace. I know this is where I'm meant to be right now. I also know this isn't where I'm meant to be forever. That this step is leading me to the next step and the next step and the next step. And so a big part of my soul transformation and of what I want to share on this podcast is things around that idea of how we can connect more with ourselves, how we can connect more with that voice inside that allows us to know what that right next step is for us, that allows us to live the life that we want to live from an inside point of view, not from a thinking about how we're viewed externally by our family, by our friends, by society, and by what those people want for us. But what do we truly want for ourselves? How can we connect with that? How can we do the inner work to unlearn some of the ideas and limitations that we might have internalized through our life? How can we open our mind to the idea that some of the systems and structures that we've grown up in, that we might be really comfortable in, that we might have always thought were true and real and believed in and would have fought for, may be limiting us, may be holding us back from being the truest, most authentic versions of ourselves. And so that's what this podcast is going to be about. And that is the journey that I'm currently on. I'm not all the way through it yet. And the reality is I never will be. But the last few months in particular have seen me shift my life, shift my beliefs, and shift my identity completely in ways that 6 months ago I would have never even believed to have been possible. And that's the magic in these hard times. That's the magic in a dark night of the soul. That's the magic in these catalysts that happen in our lives that push us, or the screaming inside that's telling us not this, is that if we actually listen, if we actually make decisions that is aligned with that peace, that is aligned with this is the right next step, that we are getting towards where we're meant to be. There is magic in that. And I know there's magic in that, in us doing that together and finding a community that can do that together. I have fundamentally changed in the last few months, to the point of where if I could see myself now 6 months ago, I might think I was having some kind of breakdown. That's how different I am right now. But the reality is that person 6 months ago was in many ways miserable inside. Not necessarily showing that to the world, but inside was miserable. This person now, the Donna I am today sitting here, knows I'm on the right path. I have always been really straighty 180, overachieving student, people pleaser, wanting to do the right thing. The systems and structures of society have always been something that I've aligned with, that have kept me safe, that I have believed in, that I've fought for. And what I've noticed over the last few months of what I'm navigating personally, but also what I've seen happen globally in that time, is that I'm becoming open to ideas that would have scared me 6 months ago, that I wouldn't maybe have been as comfortable sitting in and thinking about and processing. And that's across a range of things. That's across questioning systems and structures in society, and in some cases completely changing my mind on those things. And that's also being open to things that I can't prove. And as a scientist, that's really hard. But I'm having experiences, I am learning things, I am connecting with people online that are opening my eyes, my world, my understanding of things, that are making me ask the question, what if? What if there is more than I thought there was? What if I did this, I was on a path to something that I never would have imagined? What if I do just follow my intuition rather than overanalyzing everything and writing pros and cons list and making a decision that best aligns with what other people might think? What if? What do all those what ifs lead to? And how might that be able to transform not only my life, because this is certainly and never has been actually just about me, but how can that transform my life in a way that I can then transform other people's lives? And that's both the people that I directly come into contact with, those very important relationships in my life, but also those that I have the absolute privilege with of connecting to via social media, now via a podcast. What can we achieve if we share this, if we learn together, if we create a sense of community where we're coming from a place of love, of openness, of understanding of each other, rather than a place of fear, of restriction, of systems and structures that are holding us back from that true, authentic expression of ourselves. And so, with that, here starts the Mind, Body, Soul Transformation Podcast. That's what this is all about. And I hope to have you along with me for the ride. Future episodes will be much more based on topics, and I'm really excited to work through those and share those with you. Thank you for joining me for my very first episode of the Mind, Body, Soul Transformation Podcast. If you are interested in hearing future episodes, please like, please subscribe, and please share with anyone that also might be interested in joining our community in listening to this podcast. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and I will be back in your ears really soon. Thank you. Bye.